tips, fitness hacks, an occasional chokehold reference, and sometimes all in the same sentence.
Two dads, one chiropractor, one lawyer, both running businesses, raising kids, and trying to stay as healthy as possible, enough just to keep up.
Today we're joined by Bruce Guevara,
Sir.
Brazilian Jiu-jitsu black belt and owner of B1 BJJ Fitness. He's here to talk to us about self-defense, discipline, and why a roll on the mat might be the best personal development session you've ever had, and with your kids at times.
Yes, sir.
Definitely. So while you're either looking to protect your family, sharpen your mindset, or just finally understand why dads keep signing up for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at 40, stick around because this is definitely going to be one that's good to roll through. So, Joe, what's some updates from over the weekend? We both made it to the Live Tour.
We did. It was incredibly hot.
Different days.
It was not bad in the shade, but in the sun it was absolutely brutal.
The Bird Shack was solid.
Yeah. It was kind of funny. I had this conversation with somebody today, elected official, not for the village, but somebody else who had commented that they didn't go to it because of the political side of things.
That was all over Facebook.
Yeah, well, so it's an interesting thing because I'll be honest, I'm a bit conflicted, but it's so good for the local economy. It's hard not to support it, despite who actually.
The global ramifications.
Yeah, I mean, there's some not great stuff about it, but it is really good for the village. So it's hard to just ignore that.
Yeah.
On the parenting front, kids are getting ready to go back to school. My daughter is 16 and has a car, and I have learned that the school district and the parking permit process is absurd and unnecessarily difficult, but it's given my daughter an opportunity for life lessons. Literally, it took her, she was in the office 3 times on different days to provide information that they wanted. They kept changing it. For some reason, it's still on paper and it's not digital. I don't quite understand that at all. But they didn't give her all the information right away. So by the time she was there the 3rd time and she called me, she's leaving, she's absolutely in tears.
Oh, wow.
And so I took it as a moment of kind of personal parenting to, tell her you're going to face lots of stuff in life where you're going to have these kind of roadblocks, have to problem solve your way through it, right? So that was a win. And then I failed right away because I was too hard on her. I was still in lawyer mode dealing with some stuff in the office, and I wasn't enough of a sympathetic parent. So both a win and a fail. So she learned something from it, but I probably could have handled it better, to be honest.
Oopsies.
Yeah.
Well, our fail was I learned that it's good to keep all of your documentation for insurance purposes. Ella lost her center cut of her diamond. That was like a family heirloom, like a half carat, like very nice, small, like it's a half carat, good sized diamond, very high quality. It's like it was her grandma's, like passed down. I remember going to ask her dad for it and stuff like that. I attempted it twice, but finally got it the second time. But no, I chickened out the first time, and then luckily I found the appraisal this morning, and it from like 2017. But luckily we can get an insurance thing, and it's all figured out. But save your documentation forever.
Right
Yeah, put it in one spot. I was able to find it. It was good.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, she went like 2 hours walking around the golf course yesterday to try and find it. Nice. It's like there's no way you're finding that thing.
She's got to roll around on the ground. Try to find it.
Yeah.
Like Brazilian
Practice the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on the golf course while searching for a diamond. That's a great workout.
Could be.
Definitely. So, Bruce, what's your best dad hack to start off the episode?
So mine over the past, now that my boys are a little bit older, I have one on the way, and I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Also a boy, or is this
also a boy? Yeah.
So how's your wife feel?
She was a little bit conflicted at first, but I think now she's coming to terms with it.
Does that mean there has to be a number 4?
That's the thing, man. It's just with all things considered, everything going on, like that is going to be a stretch, especially in today's economy. Every extra month is getting a little bit, tougher to.
A little bit more expensive.
Yep. But I'm like, hey, if it's in the cards, we'll take it and we'll figure it out. But as of now, it's going to stay at 3. I always joke that I'm going to start a mini cover band.
Smart move. You're 1 away from a basketball team too.
Yeah,
there 2 away.
Yep.
But dad hack is...
But my dad hack lately has been just, balancing being a dad, business, family in general has been, we really found a lot of enjoyment bringing the boys along. Even today, me getting ready to leave the house to come here, like, all right, Dad, we're ready to go. And I'm like, no, boys, you guys have to hang back for right now. But they really love it. And I like joining me on, you know, at work or on my workouts, and, you know, we include them in. And it's has really been a time saver for me. You know, my Sunday hill workouts, we make it fun. They chase me. We usually go to a playground where, you know, there's a big old hill and then there's a playground. So we do both. So I get to kind of, you know, touch base with being a kid again, getting on the, you know, on the swing set and stuff with them, you know, pushing them up and down the slides or whatnot. And then, yeah, they motivate me to do the extra rounds, to go the extra couple laps, or to just run that extra hill, because I'm chasing after them. So that lately, you know, with my third son coming in, I didn't want to go into it being an out of shape dad again.
Yeah, no minimal dad bod. Yeah,
2020 really like was eye opening for that, and I'm like, I got to change it. So we've been, you know, since my wife's current pregnancy started, it's something that we've been very on top of. But even before that, my boys are a staple at the academy. Everybody there knows them, and I think it's really not only helped me in more ways than one, but it's helped them with their, you know, with their growth, their maturity, their communication skills. I would say if there's something out there that you can do and you can enjoy it, include your kids, include your family, take the chance, do it.
Definitely.
That's great. Involving kids and family business, where you spend a lot of time, you can do that in a way. They get to see what you do, spend extra time with you, maybe learn the family business, maybe take an interest in it.
Oh, absolutely.
The next generation.
Yeah. So both my 3-year-old, he actually got kicked off the mat for a little bit. Yeah, because he saw dad. You know, I typically wouldn't teach his class, but when he would see me walking by, he would think out of all the kids in the class, it was okay for him to get up and run off the mat. So our head kids coach said no, and I'm like, hey, I'm standing behind that decision. So he's recently at 3.5 now. He's earned his privilege back, so he's finally getting out there. But my 5-year-old, he asks every day, Dad, can I go to jiu-jitsu? Nice. Dad, can I go to jiu-jitsu? Nice. So it's been, for me as a dad, that's kind of like, when they ask for that, I'm like, okay, I feel like a rich man today.
For sure. What are you going to do when he first beats you?
I'm going to celebrate.
Okay.
I might not tell him, but, you know, I might go behind closed doors and have a celebratory beverage.
What do you think that's going to happen? Like
when I'm hoping, I'm hoping that by the time he's 18, he should be able to handle me, because that's just the level that jiu-jitsu is at now. 18-year-olds that have been training since they were his age, 4, 5, 6, are now killers. That's,
is it just the reps, the strength, the experience, knowing to be in bad positions versus
I think,
good?
Well, with kids, it's the repetition, just because they have so much more time to train than, you know, somebody that's starting later in time. But the biggest benefit is, like, for my youth students, like, they don't have the ability to use strength like we do as men. Like, you know, we get into a bad situation, like our instincts take over, and big push, right? We're explosive. Like, you know, I have students now who are going into high school. They are now very technical, and when they go to that last, you know, that next growth spurt, that's when they become next level, right? Because now not only do they have as much experience as everybody else on the mat, but they've been growing up technical the entire time.
So tell us a little bit about what is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for people who may not know about it. A lot of people are familiar with karate, taekwondo. They may have heard about it, but they don't know a lot about it. What is it? What distincts it?
So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a form of self-defense, first and foremost, and that's something that we focus on at our academy. I always explain to families, I teach a very linear way, meaning that if you're in a self-defense situation, what I'm teaching you is going to work. If you are in a training room and you're looking to have fun, the jiu-jitsu that we're teaching you is going to work. If you want to go to the competitive level, your jiu-jitsu is going to work. I can have the traditional robe, or kimono as we call it, on, or it can be more of a, you know, wrestling style outfit, the compression shirt, the shorts. The jiu-jitsu will work all the way across. Now you have another level to that, which was, you know, why a lot of people first off started hearing about Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which was the UFC, right? So going back to my original point of it being a self-defense, the style that we teach, if one day you did want to pursue that career choice, you will have the skill set for that as well. So it's a very well-rounded form of martial arts. Self-defense, you can utilize it, you know, from every aspect. Common question that people sometimes ask me is, like, is there striking involved in Brazilian jiu-jitsu? And there is. We routinely teach striking in our classes, not because we want to produce the next Mayweather, which is boxing champion, but because we want to be able to understand distances. If I'm aiming for somebody's head, they're going to bring their arms up, which allows me to get in on the takedown. And same thing if I want to expose somebody's face to apply a strike, I'll shoot for the legs, and when the arms go down, we go up high. So a lot of strategy behind it, and that's part of the reason I think between intellectuals, mixed martial arts has exploded over the past couple decades.
Definitely heard a lot more for like Rogan's the one that always makes it like the thing.
Yeah,
it seems like there's more, not as many meatheads, I guess you can say, but they're all like smart meatheads. Like
it
I call
filters,
it like a smart jock type of deal.
It filters them out because you do have from time to time, like my academy we do a lot of marketing. So with that, you do get some guys that come in, and I had a guy come in not too long. He was a nice enough guy when he was, when I was talking with me, but he shared with me, he's like, I think I can take some of the lower tier guys in the UFC. And I said, hey man, well, I kind of, I wanted to keep it positive, but, he did jump into the class and he did go 0 to 100 right out of the gate against one of my purple belts, which is about six years into training. A very nice guy. A little bit of a peen pull, my student is, but and this guy was a little bit of
thick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And other than the lack of technique, the quickness that he lost his cardio or gassed out was an eye opener for him. I think he left that session knowing like, hey. He's like, oh man, I was wrong. He's
I had
like,
a long way to go.
Yeah, exactly. I thought I could. I thought I could, and I'm like, hey, but this is a humbling experience. You can go one or two ways with it. You can check your ego.
Yeah.
You can be like, because that was for me. Like when I started jiu-jitsu, like I came in kind of with that meathead attitude because I had always, even though I wasn't the biggest guy in the room, I was always able to be a little bit more imposing. Because I literally lived in the weight room. I took a 0-hour gym class just to get another training session in. So I was always lifting weights, and if you said, hey, you can't lift that, like I would try. I'd be the last one out of the weight room until like either I got it or I was so fatigued that like I had nothing left in me. So I took that mindset and I took it into jiu-jitsu, and I had this chubby bald guy tap me out like 6 different times. And I'm like, here I'm looking in the mirror like, man, all this time that I spent in the weight room, it
works for nothing.
All the pounds of chicken that I've been eating, and here this dude just
all the Stairmaster steps.
Yeah, like it literally felt like I was on ice, and this dude just came and just shoved me, and I just went flying. Yeah, so I'm like, after I learned to tap that day, I'm like, I have to come back. So I was so sore that evening. That just my upper body was just in extreme pain. It was just straight soreness. And as soon as that went away, like I showed up to the next class, and I just never looked back.
So what was your background before jiu-jitsu? You mentioned a lot of weightlifting.
So weightlifting was my main thing. Yeah, weightlifting was my main thing. I started a little bit later in baseball, so I wasn't able to really cut it in baseball in high school, and that kind of put a chip on my shoulder. So I started lifting heavier. I started putting more effort into it, and then from there, like I said, just being on the smaller side. Even though I had the gameness for football, like physics was a thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Especially you might get a couple good licks in, but you make the wrong step, lower your level, you can get your head taken off and whatnot. And so then my thing, and I ran track as well. But at the end of the day, the one thing I felt like at that time I was connecting the most with was lifting. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of from my athletic standpoint. That's what I did. I was explosive, but I took all that into jiu-jitsu, and 20 years later, I'm a completely different athlete because I'm not using strength. I'm not using speed. I'm using quickness. Now it's all about how can I go around the wall instead of go through the wall.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you've been doing jiu-jitsu for 20 years.
Yep.
Started at what age?
18.
18.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when I started, yeah.
So he's gonna wake up on you training for sure. Let's hit some of your dad stats here that you sent to us. So you've got 2 boys right now. You mentioned you got a third one.
Yep.
Little kids like Mitch's.
Same ages, yeah.
Very, very busy at home.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Mm-hmm. Just wait.
It's a great. You know what? The holidays are fantastic.
They are fun. Right? Yeah. As long as there's other hands around, it's fun.
Yeah.
If it's just you guys. Oof. Yeah.
Hometown in West Chicago. Now, how long have you been your own boss and been running
for the past 11 years? But since I've been, you know, I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. Both my mom and dad were entrepreneurs. My grandpa, he ran his own ranch. Both of my grandparents ran their own ranches. So I think in the back of my mind, that was always kind of the wiring and the framework that was getting installed or you know, pre-programmed in. So seeing that, like when I started jiu-jitsu, it just felt normal in a way, especially because like as soon as I got my blue belt, which is the first belt after white, my instructors at the time didn't have I don't know if it wasn't just I think it just needed help, but I'm assuming because my English was also a little bit better than theirs. They're like, hey Bruce, can you do this? Can you do this? And can you do this for us? I'm like, sure, why not? You know,
did they opportunity early on to kind of lead?
Yeah, exactly. So
were they Brazilian too, speaking Portuguese? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was so I started by teaching a little bit of kids classes, and then they're like, "Well, you're always here. Do you want some hours at the front desk?" So then I started, you know, working the front desk, and then in college, I worked at LA Fitness at the front desk, and
so you started off really seeing family members run their own businesses, so you had that entrepreneurial kind of fire there that you'd seen, and then from your experience in something you were enjoying, jiu-jitsu, you then had an opportunity to teach, kind of play a role in the actual administration, and then kind of build from there.
Yeah, it was always, I mean, I was always, and this is something that I think I took from entrepreneurs that influenced me, was anything that I did was somehow correlated back to what my end goal was at the time, right? So not a lot of people know this, but when I first opened up the gym, I quit my full-time job and I was actually working at Under Armour. And people are like, why are you working at Under Armour? I'm like, well, I need to pay bills because there's money coming from the business at the time. I'm like, I needed to pay bills, but at the same time, it's like I wanted to see how a brand is able to turn the wheels, right?
For sure.
So I saw organization, I saw teamwork at a different level. Kind of get to, you know, the other employees there were younger than me too, so I kind of got to see how the next generation works with each other.
Was it like a Under Armour store or like Under Armour corporate?
No, I was just an Under Armour store.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this piece I always think is interesting for people who listen to this podcast on the entrepreneurial side of things, because there's Mitch and I started our businesses a little differently. You started from having no students at all?
None.
And did you start immediately with a brick and mortar location, or were you renting space by the day?
Yeah, so previous to that, one of our instructors is like he had a falling out with a business partner, and for a good 6 months we didn't have an academy. So, you know, naturally being on the mat all the time, and I'm a little vocal as well, guys kind of gravitated towards me, and they're like, what are we gonna do? And I'm like, you know, let me make some calls. So I called a buddy of mine that was working for this company called Zebra, and I said, hey man, we got this going on. And he's like, hey, you know, this is what I can do for you. You know, I'll work with you on this part of the payment, and I'll send these mats out to you. So he sent me like 20-something mats at the time, and I already had a couple myself, and we matted up my entire basement.
Your basement at your house?
Yep. So we had upwards of more than 20 people like hanging out on the side of the mat, taking turns, jumping in, and people are like, Bruce, you have a knack for this. You should really, you should really think like.
So did it just start as recreational at your house, just hanging out, having a good time?
Yeah, and it was just a way for me to keep the team together, because we had a lot of really good guys that we had spent a lot of time with, you know, formed skills with and whatnot, and we had that team closeness. And I'm like, I don't want to lose these guys to other teams or have them quit jiu-jitsu altogether.
By team for you, was that like you and a bunch of dudes went to a competition
and
like did it that way? And is Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I know more wrestling stuff. Is there, even though I didn't wrestle,
very similar.
Are there weight classes with it?
Yeah, there's weight classes. If you guys had a chance to check out our social media, there's also the open weight. And I have a pick up my first black belt tournament. I medaled in my weight class, and then I signed up for the absolute. I beat two guys that were light heavyweight, so they were like 205. And then my third match, I went against this guy, Otavio Natali. So it translates to Octavio Christmas. And this dude was 400 pounds. Like at one point, like I've never felt so much pressure going down my spine trying to get this dude off of me. But within like there's a video out there within the first 45 seconds, like I had this dude on the ropes for a little bit.
Did you?
You know, yeah, and I ended up losing by points. That, you know, he came up after me and in broken Portuguese, you know, or in broken English, excuse me. He was talking. He's like, man, He's like, I've never had a small guy push me like that before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was giving it my all because I'm like, dude, if I knew. And the reason we have video footage and pictures of that was because like everybody was watching that match.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, I'm like, what's funny is like not only was that guy big, but the guy on the opposite side of the bracket was even bigger, and that guy looked straight up mean. Because my instructor, he's like, man, he's like, you got to be careful. He's like, because he's like, you could have gotten really hurt. Like if a person that size with black belt skill, like could really injure you, right?
Was he like a solid 400 pounds or?
Oh
was he
yeah,
like that,
I mean he's a jiu-jitsu black belt. This guy, so at minimum, I mean he's the only reason he never won a world title, in my opinion. The guy that he would always get beat by and end up in either second or third place was this guy named Marcus Puchecha Almeida. That translates into bubblegum cheeks. But this dude he's a 9-time world champion. He's beat everybody who's anybody in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And now he just recently got signed to the UFC.
Nice.
Dude's a heavyweight, so big guy. But he moves like a small guy. So he had like the perfect intensity for the heavyweight division, which was very hard for the big guys to.
Oh yeah, they gas out typically, same like boxing.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there's
but
too
I
much
mean
weight
these
to
guys,
move.
yeah, these guys are shredded, man. Like even if they got a little bit, I call it a little layer of armor, like they're solid.
Mm-hmm.
They're solid fellas, and this guy was no exception to that. Like when I made contact, like you could feel like you hit a steel wall. Yeah.
So it sounds like it just kind of started from you saw an opportunity because you wanted to keep a team together. You got some mats for your basement. You
Yep.
started kind of just putting it together. It's not, I'm going to guess you were doing that at no cost? Or were you
Yeah, no, it was at no cost. Guys would pitch in for drinks. Some guy.
How did you make the jump from it's in your basement, you're having a good time with your teammates, to I'm going to open this business?
So then from there, my instructor finally got his academy up and running. So we took everybody. We went back there. I was working the front desk at the same time. I was meeting with the city. I was marketing. I was getting people into the door. Pretty much doing the day to day. He was just focused on running the classes. But then,
So you're running the classes and you're doing a lot of the business.
yep. Mm-hmm.
Marketing.
Yep, yeah, marketing, making sure everybody's accounted for and whatnot. But about that time, I graduated college, and when I was soldier, I was working front desk for LA Fitness as well. They're like, hey, do you want to take a manager role now that you have your degree? And it was being a young guy in the fitness world, having good relationships with management already. I had a good couple opportunities open up to me. So at that time, I talked to my instructor and his wife, and I said, hey man, I'm gonna, this is what they've offered me. What do you guys think? And they were totally supportive about it. They're like, yeah, do it. And so I went over there for a while, which was great because I was, I not only was I managing, I eventually got promoted fairly quickly to a bigger management role where I was overseeing or helping oversee clubs nationwide. So not only was I running my own club, but I also now had experience running multiple locations and dealing with vendors. And at one point I had a staff of over 35 people, which to me was a lot. But I was also running a park in one of the clubs in Highland Park, which had the most check-ins at the time. It was like the 6th in the nation or 5th in the nation. And I went over there and I won, and people saw my work ethic. So I won my members over.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all they wanted. They just wanted a clean, friendly gym. And I'm like, man, if I can really turn things around like this, like imagine if I could do this for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's kind of where at the same time I went to jiu-jitsu class one day and my instructor's like, so, hey man, are you going to do this or not? And I was scared too. And I'm like,
It's a big leap.
But he kind of gave me a little bit, and the way he phrased it was like, stop worrying about the perfect time, start making some moves.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's when I started kind of looking around and seeing, what was available to us brick and mortar wise. And I was so scared at that time. We signed the lease, or I had signed the lease, and I didn't open for like a month and a half just because I thought nobody would show up.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And luckily I had free rent at the time, but I'm like, knowing what I know now, I'm like, I should have done a grand opening. I should have done a pre-enrollment.
Yep.
I should have hyped it up.
All the things that you need to do.
Except what I did is just I rolled the dice. I opened up the door one day. I just shot a message to everybody that I knew that was local, that was not training jiu-jitsu. And I said, hey, come join me.
Uh-huh.
And the first day we had 2-3 people. Then, some guys were just like, hey man, we're just here to check it out, like from our team and stuff. And I'm like, hey, no worries. They did their part, shared a picture. And, at the time I was still working. I worked full time for like about 6 months.
All right, coming back here, let's pick up the conversation where we left off there. So you were talking about getting everything off the ground. You had an initial delay before you opened the doors because you were worried about what was going to happen.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
So then what?
So then after that, so we opened up, and like I said, one of the biggest, like the two biggest mistakes that I made early on were, one, like I said, not have a better launch plan, and then two was I was dividing my time between my full-time job and my soon-to-be
So
full-time.
this is a great question, right? Every entrepreneur has to make this decision. It's kind of funny. I've had this conversation with some friends about this podcast as examples.
Mm-hmm.
When you go all in, there is a pressure that's on you. There is a time commitment that's on you. There is just more effort that you put into it. It could succeed. It could fail. It could go somewhere in between. Making that decision to go from having the job that puts food on the table to going for the dream is tough. So what was the catalyst that finally got you to make that jump?
So it was, I mean, it was just month after month, like we would just see more and more red in our bank account. That was a big problem. So, so ultimately I had this is one thing I saw to the young guys out there: don't send the email, make the call, or look to meet in person. But I sent an email to my manager at the time, and that's one thing that he said back to me. He's like, "You did great, you killed it up until your last day. The only thing I would do different, call."
Call and explain what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Just the communication part of it, and I'm seeing that more and more now as I'm getting deeper into the business side of what we do, and the importance of it. Seeing face to face, being able the communication. Yeah, that's the only thing he said to do differently. But yeah, I had to pull. I mean, that was the biggest motivator, because if I would have chickened out at that time, I don't think we'd be here today, because I think I still remember the exact total. It was like $112 with like 34 cents before we actually went into the green, like started consistently making profits every month. And that was about a good year and something into being open that we finally started to see, just one day people started showing up.
So
Some sort of flywheel happened.
Yeah.
I'm going to sound probably like an old person
Mm-hmm.
to you, because I am 10 years older than Mitch, or whatever it is. But this is an issue that I've seen repeatedly in terms of the communication part.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When I started practicing law, none of the attorneys allowed outside email. Half the attorneys didn't have a computer. They were in their 60s. This was early 2000s. But we did almost everything via mail. Everything was in writing. Nothing was electronic. We've shifted now in the practice of law to where we're nearly paperless. We could be paperless. Some cases are completely paperless. I have over 100 emails a day that I get that are substantive that I have to respond to. And I see there being this huge lean, especially by newer people, newer attorneys and business as well, to want to do everything over email. And I think it's a tremendous mistake, because you lack that human component where you get to respond and understand. You can read something on paper, but when you talk to somebody and they tell you there's different context, it sounds different, you can respond to it. Having that connection is huge. And I assume, correct me if I'm wrong, I assume with what you do, knowing your students is a huge part of it, knowing what they need, being able to interact with them.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I have what I call open office hours, and that's literally just the time that my students know that I'm in the academy, that if they need to talk to me, they can. No pressure. Just, hey, this is what I need. This is what I'd like to talk about. Because I don't want that to ever be a barrier between somebody, continuing to better their life through jiu-jitsu, or have that be like, oh, I could never talk to my instructor. So, I now took up a different hobby, or no hobbies at all. Sometimes there can be things that are heavy enough in people's lives that they might close the door, turn on the Netflix, and that's that. Yeah.
With that, we do the same thing when we get if I have a patient that comes in, or we get a lead, tell the office, like our front desk, like, you can text them, email them, but like try and call them too. And like, I'm always open if they have questions. If they're, I was probably same with jiu-jitsu, or same with legal stuff. They're always like, well, what's going to happen if I continue? Or they're afraid of actually getting treatment, which is, I think, is hilarious. Because to me, it's like, okay, you're already in some sort of discomfort. You have some sort of pain point. I can help you with those types of things. Same thing with legal and jiu-jitsu and fitness. Where you're at's not sustainable. But to be able to convey that type of stuff in an email or a text message, you're not going to get that across. But if you can talk to someone on the phone or face-to-face and say, hey, what do you have going on? Here's how I can help you. It probably can change your life in some way.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that personal touch has really helped us scale to where we're at today. I usually focus on just what we got going on, but at this time we're the biggest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy in Naperville, and I think a lot of that is because just putting boots on the ground and getting that deep connection with people. I have one of the things that I noticed, tracking my stats, was that anytime somebody would mark a number 3, which was lack of motivation, on their questionnaire or their goal setting questions, that person would most likely not show up to our appointment.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it my personal responsibility to make sure that I make that person feel welcome, that I get rid of anything that's going to scare them from coming in through that door, so they can come in and see what's the goodness that's on the other side. I think little touches like that over the past 11 years has assisted us with our growth.
So now you're at a point where I don't want to. I guess I shouldn't assume. Are you at a point now where you're not worried from day to day about having the doors open?
No, I
That
think.
type of business there where
I
it's
think
just
I
rolling?
think regardless of where you're at, you're always gonna feel that pressure. What I will say is,
Confidence.
yes, confidence. But what I will say is that, like I told my wife this, I said, I have the same level of stress, and I have the same problems, or same level of problems, same type of problems that I did when I was struggling to keep money in the bank account and to pay our bills, versus now. Now, like, everything is still the same level. Like, there's still stress. Like, the only people that don't have stress are dead people.
That's very true.
So, like, the stress, everything that comes with it, everything is still there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now I have confidence. I've been through the cycle a few times. So
Yep.
yeah, so if there's a part in July that we're not getting as many leads or as many people coming through the door, or the attendance in the class is a little bit lighter, I don't stress out about it like I did 10 years ago, because I know, hey, people are on vacation. People
For
are
the
getting
past
ready for
10
school.
Julys, this has happened. So I
Yes.
know in August it's going to...
Perspective.
Yeah. But now, and then at the same time, I plan for next July, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of helped, some of my marketing skills, some of the younger guys that I'm coaching up to run their own academies and whatnot. Like, this is some of the value that I give them, because now you don't have to go through what I went through, because here's the script.
Here's the map book. Or
Yeah.
here's the guidebook. Here's the
Yeah.
playbook.
Here's what you're going to deal with.
Yeah.
And
Is that big in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy space? Are people like mentoring, coaching, or...
Yeah, it has
Some
to be.
people the
I mean, when Michael Jordan won his 6 titles, Phil Jackson was in his corner. I have mentors in every part of my life, personal, business.
So this brings up a good question for me, because I had a conversation with somebody about this the other day who was in an athletic space, and I got the very defined sense from them that they felt threatened by other people who do something similar. Do you feel threatened? Because I don't think you do. From what you
No.
explained, it sounds like there's more of a community.
Yeah, and you can get pulled into it. I think it's very toxic, and people will try to pull you into that atmosphere, because I've had people say to me, if maybe they think I've been wronged or this and that, like, doesn't that make you feel terrible? How does that make you feel? And I'm like, in not just in jiu-jitsu, but in any business that we're in, like, enduring pains, like, for lack of better terms, is part of the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Enduring, people maybe not making the decision that you wanted them to make, people choosing a different route, people falling off the boat, maybe people saying something that you don't agree with, that's personal or whatnot. Like, that's going to happen. I mean, the more you keep scaling, the bigger you get, the better you are at your craft, more of that is going to come up. So at this point, I just roll with it, man. I just roll with it. And in my opinion, I think there's different strokes for different folks. So if, my academy, most likely different than what the person down the street is. I could take every aspect of any part of my academy, put it in a little bow and hand it to the next guy, and they will not replicate the same
Nope.
results I have.
Nope.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and
'cause there's a very personal element to what you do.
exactly.
So I find that interesting when people go, oh, there's Chicago. There's a chiropractic school in Chicago. Or like in Davenport, there's
Mhm.
like the highest density of chiropractors in Davenport, but there's not that many people. So like, how are all these chiropractors here, but it's the highest density of chiropractors? So it's like different stroke for different folks. Different people communicate what we do.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Right.
I've had people go like, tell me I suck. Or I've also had people go, you explain something that no one has ever explained to me, and it's the best thing in the world. So it's like, you're going to get both.
It's funny. I had a law professor once who, very well known. She's probably one of the nicest, smartest people I've ever met. Looks kind of menacing in the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Big, broad shoulders. Very good at what she does. And she one time said to me, she's like, Joe, you're never going to be able to do in the courtroom what I can do just because of how I look and how I present. But you got this boy next, she literally said, I think boy next door kind of thing, and that's the angle that you work, right?
Yeah.
Be their friend and crush them.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you walk into a room.
I've literally had ladies go, holy.
Yeah, he's not standing up, but
No.
he's a sizable man. But it's, there is how you present. There's also how you handle patients, clients, customers, students, and it plays a huge role in the success of your business too. If you're no good at it, you're not going to stay in business very long.
Yeah, and I think for me, like, so we have one of our youth program is huge. Like, I have to sometimes get 5-6 instructors on the mat. But I think part of the reason that started is because families would come in and they're like, "Who's the instructor?" And I would come out and they're like, "Hey, that guy doesn't look too bad.
Yeah.
He smiles, he shakes my hand." He's only 5'6". Like, how much damage can this guy do?
He's the same size as my kid. It's perfect.
Yeah, excellent. And I'm like, hey, by all means,
He'll take it at that point.
but that's a funny thing is then these families become my students, and like I have a student who he was at a family event, and he's like, yeah, this is my instructor, and they're like, that guy,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, what do you mean? They're like, look at his size, and they're like, he doesn't look small to me, and this guy's like 6'3".
Yep.
He's like, he doesn't look small to me. He's like, dude, he's like, how about you tell that to him?
Yeah.
Right. And he came back and told me that story. And he's like, but it's true. He's like, he's like, based off of like my experience training with you, he's like, I don't see you as a small person. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu, man. It's
a great equalizer.
Yeah.
I've heard that a couple times.
So let me ask you a question. For obviously kids get into some kind of programs. This isn't for adults too. This is for families.
Yes, for everybody. Yeah, we at this point, I checked our numbers the other day. We've had over 4,500 people come in through our doors over the past 11 years.
So this podcast is in large part almost exclusively devoted to dads.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And not all dads are physically active, right? And I always like to say that we all do different things. I've never done jiu-jitsu. I would be terrible at it.
I did it once. I was sore for a week, and I kind of want to do it again. But.
Yeah, this guy is a barbell enthusiast, and
Yeah.
I ran 7 miles this morning, although I'm not a good runner. But there are a lot of people that aren't active at all, right?
Absolutely.
Is it jiu-jitsu something for somebody who's not?
Oh, 100%. Like most of my members that are working with me directly one-on-one, and those people come in and they're like, Professor Bruce, I want the A package, right? And we build a game plan. Like my goal, especially for some of my dads that are coming in their 40s and 50s that are especially now with work from home, they're like, I have a guy who's like, every time I walk past the refrigerator, I can't not help but open it. Like, I need your help.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some students, like I just gave a purple belt to one of my guys who he's just turned, I gave it to him on his 60th birthday. I kind of got worried. I found out it was his birthday coming up, so I wanted to make it a little special. But, and he started training with me at 55, 54. And with him, it's just, for him it was very personal because of, his wife. One day he got really sick and his wife didn't really do too much about it. And I might be changing the story up a tiny bit, the exact detail, but he was like confused, like, why aren't you helping me? She's like, well, why would I help you if you don't want to help yourself? And then from there, he's like, that's what I needed to hear. He's like, because ever since then, he's like, I've been driving past the academy every time and I never would walk in. But when he made that decision to make that change, he came in, he met with me, we talked, we set goals. And essentially, like for so a lot of my students, especially the ones that, like I said, are very sedentary, like my goal is to have you be able to walk up the stairs when you're 60, 70, 80, right? And the unfortunate part is that our community is growing from the negative aspect, that there's more and more people that aren't taking advantage of any sort of physical activity or physical fitness. And I would tell you, like, I'm doing you a disservice not sharing with you how many physical and mental benefits that jiu-jitsu has for you.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody, I mean, a lot of my students, minimal to no weights, but they still have shoulders, they still have a core, they have, some sort of definition in their legs. So
it's great for strength development.
Great for strength development.
Tell us about the mental side.
The mental side, I mean, when you're focused on how you're going to get that takedown, or you're focused how are you going to get this person out from on top of you, or you're trying to find the space to get out of a stranglehold, right? Like nothing else matters at that time. Like what your wife yelled at you about doesn't matter. Your emails don't matter. You're only, your mind is on one thing at that time, is getting out of that bad position. And once you do, give yourself a pat on the back, you move on to the next thing. And it's just a tiny sequence of small rewards that start retraining your brain. So even if you're maybe up to this been a negative person, you know, those little wins, winning those little battles day to day starts to reprogram your brain. And that's when you start seeing that cascade effect of just positivity in your personal life.
Mm-hmm. You ever heard the choose your hard, basically? If you do that,
yeah, exactly. Everything's hard.
Walking up the stairs for some people is hard.
Being out of shape is hard.
Oreos is hard.
Yeah,
like
being out of shape is hard. Jiu-jitsu is hard. Being disciplined is hard.
Yeah.
You know, getting the confidence to talk to somebody face to face is hard. You know, personal skills. So it's like I tell people, I'm like, you choose your heart. I'm here for you.
For sure.
You know.
If you were to give a piece of advice to an entrepreneur out there who does something, they think they do it well, they're thinking about maybe making the jump into doing something full time and making it go over on their own, what would you tell them?
I'd say, you know, the best time to have made that decision was when they first came to mind. The second best time is today. So definitely take the leap and go forward with it, because most of the chances are you're going to be successful. But if you're not, you can at least live with that comfort that you took that leap, that you took that chance, that you were able to see like what you were able to bring with it, right? To come up with, instead of, you know, sitting on your rocking chair in 30 years and thinking, man, what about if I would have made that leap at that time, right? It's never going to feel like the perfect time. And I think, you know, big lesson learned for me was, you know, opening up the academy, you know, how I kind of chickened out for a second. And, you know, I had no choice but to look in the mirror and say, hey, today's the day. You know, we hit the go button and we just went for it.
That sounds awesome. Perfect. Yeah.
Let's talk about how people want to find you. How do they find you?
So we're located right across the street from the Fox Valley Mall here in the Naperville, Aurora area. If you wanted to take a peek at kind of what we do, we're very active on our Instagram at B1 BJJ So that's B with the number 1. And then we also have a YouTube page. It's B1 BJJ Fitness as well. And then recently we just completed episode 25 on our podcast, Bullish on Jiu-Jitsu. So we talk a lot about, you know, kind of how to manage your first couple weeks, couple months of jiu-jitsu, how to, you know, deal with certain situations on the mat. And then we do get into some, you know, how can we take our lessons from jiu-jitsu and use them in our everyday life, right? And, you know, we talk about, we've had actually a lot of entrepreneurs that reached out to us and been like, hey, I listened to your podcast, and from there I was able to utilize this in my business, and now I'm able to scale past that bottleneck constraint that I was dealing with for the past year.
That's awesome.
Right? Yeah. So
just subscribe right now.
Yeah.
I'll watch some of these things. Perfect.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
Definitely.
All right, let's jump into Quill's Corner and get a couple tips from a good doctor.
Yeah, as far as 40-year-olds rolling around, what's some of the? Do you ever do an assessment 40 for some of the 40-year-olds?
actually, that's my average age group now.
40s.
Yeah, because I don't know if it's just because the fact that I'm also a dad, we just connect with that on so many levels. Yeah, but I don't know, maybe just the area that I'm in. There's a lot of families, but
Yeah, that area around Fox Valley is definitely heavily populated.
Yeah.
So I wonder, same thing with like the F3 group I do in the morning. When I first joined, like everyone was in like their 40s and 50s.
Same guys
few 30-year-olds,
yeah.
a few 20-year-olds, like 1 or 2 76-year-olds. But most of it was 40s, and I'm like, all right, what's the thing? What's happening around 40 where everyone's starting to do something like that? I was like, do they have more time? Are they more wise?
I think what it is just
managing
being busy, because I think they got to their 40s or late 30s and they're like, I'm always going to be busy, but if I don't do something, I'm just going to keep, you know, it's just going to keep getting worse from here. And I think like there is a thing, like we're so busy, like I see my students more than I see my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, friends from college, from high school, like because they're busy too. So I think, you know, I have like, just because I can't think of a different term for it, but I think male loneliness is a thing. And I think more importantly, what people come in for is, the great training, but it's the community.
Yeah. Same with like CrossFit too.
Yeah.
I can see it with like a jiu-jitsu gym, the F3 thing. Like when I was first moving here, the first things I looked for were an apartment and then a CrossFit gym. Like everything had to be like within my circle. I wanted to do that at the time because that was my community.
Yep.
That now CrossFit is not sustainable, so I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then same thing. I can see how around 40, everyone's busy is what you make time for. So what are some things that you look for in a 40-year-old when they're starting out so that they don't get hurt?
I always, I mean, like I said, I'm very hands-on, so that helps a lot. Plus my staff, they're pretty much like replicas of me. So if they see, if they see somebody maybe that's losing some weight or needs to lose weight and they're trying to keep up with the 20-something next to them, like we do a good job of making sure that they're going at their own pace. So a lot of it is just literally the professionalism and the structure of the classes is what creates success on the mat. And that's sometimes, in jiu-jitsu being such a laid back martial art, my biggest pet peeve sometimes is walking into an academy, seeing their class going on and the instructor not paying attention. Because I know the level that we have at our academy, and that's where injuries happen. That could be it. And then, I remind our students every day to take care of each other. We have mat chats with our youth students on why it's important to take care of your training partner. And all those little things, just 1% every day, I think creates a good environment where if somebody who's in their 40s feels comfortable not getting hurt. Do injuries happen from time to time? Of course. You can stub your toe walking out of here today, right? And then now you're out. I've had more people get hurt in pickleball than in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. I think I've seen a handful of jiu-jitsu things. Most of it's like they get their neck cranked on. That's what happens. But yeah, recently I've seen way more pickleball, more tennis, the leisure, older people sports. I'm like, you'd probably just, and plus I like the flexibility component. Like you have to be flexible to be able to do it.
Yep.
And if you're not, you're going to be within hopefully a couple weeks.
I mean, even like I have a ton of former athletes. I got, one of my students right now, like I tell people, I got professional athletes that train there, right? I got Shamar Bailey. He was on the Ultimate Fighter. He had a couple fights in the UFC. But even for a guy like him who for a while he was off the mat and then coming back, like he's somebody who flexibility, strength, knowledge on the mat, everything came back to him as soon as he got onto the mat. So the reason I bring that up is for even former athletes who are out there listening who think, oh man, I used to, like I stopped going to the weight room for a while too. But when I started going back to the weight room, everything started coming back. My build, my figure started to come back. Because that's the last thing. One thing I'll say, it's a little bit, I don't know the exact word for it, but I told myself I would never be a fat jiu-jitsu instructor. Yeah, don't do that. You can't. Like I have never, like the guy that you're hiring to help you get into shape has to be in shape. Exactly.
Has to be like somewhat in shape. Have to have like a bicep or a shoulder or a trap muscle.
Yes.
For sure.
Modeling good behavior.
I had classmates in Cairo school that were like bigger. They were big when they started and they got bigger when they left. And I'm like, how are you going to tell a patient to be healthy? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. So
that's not possible.
And it makes my job easy too, because everything that I share with you as the person who's trying to overcome this problem, if I'm doing it, it comes from the right place. Like it comes from the heart, right? Like if I tell you that this is what we're going to do to get you to this muscle mass or lose this weight, like I'm probably going to be doing that alongside you. And that's what's going to give me that comfort and the confidence to share that with you. Because if I'm not doing it, you're going to read right through it.
For sure. I would say my biggest close corner advice was like when you mentioned you got away from the weights, when you got back into it, once you started to get back into it, it's like riding a bike. I think when I took a break from weightlifting too, with my kids being born, they weren't sleeping through the night. When I got right back into the gym, tried to squat like 225. So just 2 plates on the bar. Used to be my initial warm-up set. And I had to work up to 225 this time. It was embarrassing. And then I got 5 reps when I used to be able to do like 20 plus and be no issue. I got 5 reps, had to stop because my adductors, my legs were cramped up. I was sore for 2 weeks. Yeah. It was the most embarrassing thing in the world. I'm like, all right, we're never getting out of shape again.
Yeah, 100%.
At all. But then within, I don't know, a week or two, I was back up to like repping out 315, no problem, 360, no problem for reps. But then, so yeah, if you're a former athlete, you were used to be in shape, it's going to be really easy to get back in shape. You just have to wait through a little bit of suck for a couple of weeks. Yeah. Because your body's going to have to physiologically adapt to that stimulus again. And then once it kind of knows what it's doing, it won't be as big of an issue. So.
Yeah. So, and I had the same thing, man, because after a leg workout, not only was I that type of soreness, like that would last for more than 4 days.
Oh yeah.
But then on top of that, I had to get onto the mat, not only show technique, but then sometimes I would have to get in there and do the workouts with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I couldn't move my leg because of the soreness from the muscles. So it made me want to quit the gym. But enough's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to do this 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. We're going to stay with it. And it's a sense of pride because now, like, this weekend I was at a tournament. I had a couple guys competing. I had one of my Division I wrestlers just wreck house. When I was there, like, I was looking forward to seeing all the acquaintances, buddies that I had made throughout the years see me again, because, like, I love when they come up to me and they're like, Professor Bruce, you look exactly the same as when I saw you 10 years ago. And I'm like, thanks, man. It means that I'm doing what I'm preaching, right? So
sure.
Giving back to the community and adding value and educational stuff. We do a lot of that stuff, but at the end of the day, people have mortgages to pay.
Yeah.
To put food on the table.
Like, I have a student who he was in and out of juvie for years. He might be 17 years old now. Mom didn't know what to do with him. Super nice kid to me. Never has been disrespectful. Refers to me as Professor Bruce or Sir. Nothing else. And I gave him a scholarship. We got him all the gear he needed. He shows up 3-4 days a week. Doesn't cause any problems. But he's there for the right reason.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and plus you can't help anyone if you're closed.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to do what you want to do if you're not
Yeah.
operating at all.
The question comes up sometimes in terms of using self-defense, whether or not a person needs to be concerned about legal liability, right? Criminal and civil. And those are a little different. And I will say my little legal warning here. I am a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer. Information providing is really for educational kinds of reasons. Don't take those legal advice necessarily. Every state's a little different with how they apply things. If you do Google search, you'll learn that Florida has different laws than Illinois in terms of how you're supposed to handle certain situations. Generally speaking, you have an absolute right to defend yourself, self-defense, right, and use reasonable force to do so. There are situations where deadly force is considered reasonable in particular situations, not in every situation. And as you were telling us earlier, you had a situation. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah. So we just had my second son. So he was maybe at that time, maybe 2 months old. And we were just going on our typical grocery run. We were going down in town of Wheaton, which is normally super safe. Like, it's on
No
the small.
issues, yeah.
No issues. Never had any issues in Wheaton. And I was helping my wife get out of the backseat of the car because, man, my son might have been even younger. So I know she was still,
Recovering.
postpartum. So she was still she was struggling getting in and out. And, I had a lifted truck at the time. So it made it even more challenging. So I'm helping her get out. And I just see this guy, giving me the finger. And I was like, hey, stay here. Let me go check this out, right? So this guy, he gets out of his car and just starts cussing at me. And he's like, you gave me a dirty look. And I'm like, hey, sorry, man. I didn't even know you were there, but that's cool. Like, my apologies. Get back in your car. Like, we'll see ya. And he's like, no. He's like, don't be a coward. Like, you did this and now you don't want to. And I'm like, no. I'm like, if you think I did, sorry, I could be on your way. And then finally I got serious and I'm like, hey man, I'm with my family. Get back in your car. You leave, we'll leave too. Not a big deal. And this guy, he kept going back at it. I'm trying to ignore him. And then it finally got to the point where he yelled a few things about, my size. I'm like, okay. And then when I turned, then I catch him running back at me. And then just reaction took over. I took him down with a double leg takedown. Caught him in an arm lock. I didn't want to hurt the guy because, I wasn't sure what my stance was. Yeah. So
this is a perfect example, right? So you have an imminent danger that's right there.
Yep.
You have an absolute right to defend yourself with reasonable force, which is as much as is necessary to stop the threat, which ultimately you did.
Yep.
Right? Highly unlikely in that situation anyone's going to be criminally prosecuted, right?
Yep.
Especially when there's witnesses and so forth. But just the story in of itself about what happened there. Now, on the civil side, people can file lawsuits for whatever they want, but here is another example of where the likelihood of success is almost zero.
Yeah.
Right? He was a willing participant in this, and he got his ass handed to him.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, that's what happened, right?
Did he sue you or no?
No, I never heard from him again. He did, like I shared earlier, the police officer that showed up.
Yeah.
was a student of mine. So he was a pretty high rank. Yeah. So he showed up, and then his partner in the car was also, he was a jiu-jitsu white belt. Not with me, but he's like, oh well, when my student kind of got him up to speed on who I was, he's like, oh, like they were both surprised, like kind of how that had unfolded, and then but I have other friends that also are police officers that also train jiu-jitsu, and one of my buddies once, I saw him at a barbecue. He's like, hey, you wouldn't, he's like, you wouldn't guess. He's like, but we ran into this individual again. And he's like, oh, I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, was he picking on short guys again in a parking lot? He's like, no. He's like, I think he learned his lesson from when he saw you. He's like, I guess this time he was vandalizing property.
Oh, lovely.
And they got him again. And, they looked more into it. And yeah, there was definitely something off there.
Was he like mentally weird?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he had. I never got really into the details of it. It could have been drug induced when I ran into him. It could have not.
Something's going on.
Yeah, but.
Well, so interestingly enough, you fall into a category where there is kind of special care that you have to use in certain situations because you have this training, right? Police officers fall in the same kind of category. You're also a higher target when people know that for a negligence suit or what have you. So the advice I generally give to people is be reasonable. Once the threat has stopped. Threat is over, don't become the aggressor at that point.
Isn't there something to do with boxers? Like your hands are registered lethal weapons. Like if it wasn't self-defense and you're like aggressing towards someone, like that's technically assault with a deadly weapon type of thing.
You're going to be put into a different category. You're going to be looked at differently because you have that ability.
Is there like what's the threshold for that change? Like you have to have one amateur fight or a pro fight, and like you can't get in a fight ever again. I don't know.
State
for
making that. I think it's generally just kind of a saying, but the principle is the same. Whether you're trained in jiu-jitsu or you're a professor of it, or you're a police officer who's used to grappling with people and taking down criminals. When you use your skill set beyond what is necessary to defend yourself, that's where you're potentially opening yourself to liability. In your situation, it doesn't sound like there would have been any civilly or criminally. But my advice to people would be: do what you need to do to stop the threat, and then move from there. Right? If you can not have it happen in the first place, that's preferable.
Yep.
There's all sorts of different laws in different states. There's some states where you can absolutely stand your ground and you don't have to back away. There's no duty to retreat. Some states have a duty to retreat. If you're at your home, different things apply. General wisdom is you can defend yourself, you can defend your family with a reasonable force. It's really that at the end of the day. So let's talk about some key takeaways from today's interview.
Definitely.
I made a few notes here as we went through, Bruce. A couple things here. Include your kids on workouts.
100%.
Model good behavior.
That's my big one. Best dad hack ever.
Yeah. 11 years in business, and seeing family members who are in business helped as a catalyst for you to see what's possible. Kind of inspired you.
Yes, sir.
Jot a note down here. Winning the small battles can be huge, and you kind of just stack those on top. Keep going. Talk to people. Don't just rely on email.
100%.
I'm a big believer in that one.
Yeah.
For sure. And even dads that are sitting on the couch can potentially do jiu-jitsu and get more physically active as well.
Oh yeah.
Got to start somewhere.
Those are the biggest transformations that we see, because I don't want to. We're starting from a lower step, so it's like we can shoot for the stars. 40% increase in your overall health is not uncommon. Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I think your family will thank you in the future.
Definitely. And plus, if you're if your goal is to be able to walk upstairs when you're 60, like you definitely need to start sooner.
I know
it's easier to stay in shape too.
Yeah.
Than getting out of shape and trying to get back in shape.
Yeah, I just had a student who he started losing a ton of weight, just started coming up because his body was like, he's supposed to be kind of a muscular build, but because of his habits, he didn't have that. But once we tapped into that, like the weight didn't want to stay on. It was just, and I'm like part of it too, because he had a layer of muscle underneath that's kind of been part of his genetic buildup. The muscle just burned so many calories. And this dude, he was showing me his heart rate monitor. And like when the guy next to him had 1,400 calories burnt, this guy had 1,800. He would get up to 2,000. I'm like, dude, you got to go home and eat.
Yeah. Yes. Don't pick McDonald's, but definitely get something in there.
Yeah, something good and nutritious.
That's insane.
Anything else you want to add podcast. You've talked about how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, check out our podcast, guys. See if there's any takeaways from there. I'd love to hear it. Our goal is, we're a newer podcast. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers on there because that motivates us to put out more content. But at the same time, if you know anybody that's between the ages of 4 and 70, have them come on by. But yes, our average student is in their 30s and 40s. So don't be that person that says, "Hey, I'm in my 30s. I should have started 10 years ago. There's no chance for me." You still have 2/3 of your life to go, guys. And it's a lot. I can tell you, I have plenty of reviews that will tell you that living a healthier lifestyle has 10x'd their life overall and their relationship with their wives and their kids and even their careers.
Definitely don't be that 60-year-old either that says, "Oh, I'm too old to do this."
No.
I always love that excuse. I'm like, no, you're not. 60 is like the new 40, right?
Yeah.
You still got another 20, 30 years you can go.
Yeah. No, it's 100%, man. I mean, even if it's not jiu-jitsu is just because I'm biased towards it because it's where I've seen the biggest changes in people. And like I said earlier, it's as far as egos and meatheads concerned, it's got the biggest filter.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me, to build that confidence, I had to break down that meathead confidence that I had before. Because at the end of the day, like the mat doesn't lie. Like if you have holes in your personality or things that you need to improve that maybe you weren't even aware of,
they'll get exposed.
Yeah. And I've seen some guys that come in that are very timid, and all of a sudden they have the biggest hearts on the mat. They're fighting out of the positions the hardest. Now this guy can leave and be like, "Hey man, if I could do that there and I could persevere through that situation, I can do that at work. I can do that to even pursue my future wife or whatnot." Right. So it's a lot of nice positives, a lot of nice takeaways.
Definitely.
Well, that is a wrap on this episode of Dad's Deals and Dumbbells. Big thanks to you, Bruce.
No, thank you for having me.
Join us today. Proving that self-defense is as much about self-mastery as it is about protecting your family as well.
Definitely. And if you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, drop us a review, share it with another dad who's working on his armbar or his patience.
And check out Bruce's gym at, tell me if I get this wrong, B1 BJJ Fitness.com.
You got it.
I got it. All right. And connect with him on LinkedIn, social media, follow the podcast as well.
Until next time, roll smart, lift heavy, love your kids, and close those deals.